We don't get fooled again. Boy, you're seeing that term a lot out there this morning, especially with the Hantavirus thing. Wouldn't it be nice to come in on a Monday and not talk about a virus or anything else concerning like that? But there's a reason why. And the difference this time with this thing is people are asking the right questions. You all right? Not giving out medical advice, just asking the right questions. Because we all remember during the C years, the COVID years, we weren't even allowed to ask the right questions. Doesn't mean you're denying science. It doesn't mean that you're hiding your head in the sand. You just want to ask questions to get the right things. I'll leave you with this before we get into anything today about this thing. We're all asking the right questions, and that's really, really good news. Is it hype? Is it concern? Let me get this out of the way. You're not going to get any medical advice from me. I'm a radio podcasting kind of guy, but what I do is ask questions to get you to make your own decisions. So I'm just going to go over the latest clips about this Hantavirus to see what they're all saying so we can all make our own decisions, right? Right. With all that said, thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. A lot more of you found the audio podcast. Thanks for finding that, whatever platform you like to go on and what they ask you to do to find it for the next episodes. Also the replay and live stream Monday through Friday on X and YouTube and Facebook. Let's get right to it. With this virus, you heard about it. You're trying to live your daily life. You're trying to go to work, raise your kids, have some fun, have a Mother's Day this past weekend. Why are all these news outlets talking about this Hantavirus? Well, it was a concern last week, but today it's in the news and dominating the headlines because of one specific thing. Our American passengers are apparently back on U.S. soil. Here's the update on that. We'll take it down to pieces here for just a second, and we'll talk about what they're going through right now. But also, and I think this was on Fox and Friends this morning. I think it was. But we'll break it down. They give a pretty good update on exactly how we got to this point before we start asking all the questions. What I want to do is hear from everybody. Yes, unfortunately, even some of the cast of characters from the COVID years are speaking up against this, some of whom I never thought we'd hear from again, to be honest with you. But let's get the update. How did we get here? Where are we as of this morning? Here's that update just a couple of hours ago in real time.
Travelers make their way to homes in more than 20 countries around the world. Their respective medical teams are addressing how to contain the virus. As of this morning, a French passenger and American passenger have tested positive. Another American currently has mild symptoms. These 17 Americans are now back on U.S. soil as of this morning. 2 of them traveled in the plane's biocontainment unit. Each individual will undergo clinical assessment and receive care based on their conditions. That's according to the Department of Health and Human Services. And if you're thinking this all feels like 2020 all over again, doctors address those concerns.
We have a team on the ground that's going to help these 17 Americans, bring them back to a facility in Nebraska. We're going to have them isolate for about 42 days. That's what the literature says. We've handled outbreaks like this before. My message to the American people is, please don't worry. This is not one of those things like COVID where there's 15 different alarm bells.
So that's the first part. First of all, did you hear what she said there? How'd you like to travel back to the U.S. in the biohazard unit on the plane? No thanks. Is that going to be an option on Southwest Airlines at some point soon? Well, we have business class, regular traveler class, and we have the biohazard unit for $5 off if you like. But anyway, not to make light of it. So, but the guy you heard there at the end was Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, the acting director of the CDC now, who said something very important. This is the first thing that's different now. Many of the health officials now, both with the CDC and directly now in the Trump administration, are saying this is not like COVID. It's interesting that they're going out of the way to say this is not like COVID, which I appreciate, and is the right thing to say as we kind of all ask the same questions about this thing. More on Dr. Bhattacharya as he was on CNN just last night. What else did he say about this thing? Because he was featured.
We are in touch with the WHO. We're in touch with the international health organizations, including the one in Spain, and we have been providing technical assistance to all of those organizations all the way through. This is not COVID, Jake, and we don't want to treat it like COVID. We don't want to cause a public panic over this. We want to treat it with the hantavirus protocols that we're successful in containing outbreaks in the past.
That's another important point he made there. And I like that he's out there into the public, and he said it in every single clip and interview I could find this morning. Dr. Bhattacharya is saying the exact same thing. We don't want to treat it. This is different. It is not COVID. So that's the first piece of information that's coming out there. Second thing he said was really interesting, though. We have a protocol in place for this. That's the first thing that's different from COVID. Nobody knew what the hell was going on here. And we all remember, do we have to get into it? Do we have to dig that up again? Remember what we were told for the first 10 days? I know it's 10 days because I covered it live on the air every single day trying to calm down people in South Florida. It's not from a wet market in Wuhan. Remember that? There was the story that ran forever at first. That's another thing that's different this time. And because we didn't know what the hell this was, it came out of left field. There are documented cases of this thing before. We've seen it before. We have. But here's the first relevant question. Why this one? Why are you even hearing about this one? Well, if you're a family member of these people that were stricken, in that cruise ship, Hantavirus, the Dutch cruise ship, 3 people passed away. I think they said it was up to like 17 people got sick. Yeah, that's a concern. But would you have even heard about this without 2 conditions? First of all, having already lived through COVID, so now everybody's hyper aware of all this stuff. Maybe not a bad thing. But the second thing is, what just recently happened? Again, the negotiations and the talks with the World Health Organization, which was mentioned right there in that clip right there. They said, and they come up with these negotiations, all the countries do, and we're the main player in this whole thing to decide what the pandemic protocol is going to be. We dipped out of the World Health Organization. So now, all of a sudden, is that a main reason why this is such a massive, massive story? There have been hantavirus cases before. Why are you hearing about this now specifically? Is it propaganda? Is it to scare the U.S. into joining the World Health Organization, the WHO again? Is it? Well, it was one of the specific questions from a reporter on the South Lawn of the White House this past weekend as President Trump was getting on Marine One. And I'm sorry about the audio. It's really loud because they're revving up the jet helicopter engines. But she asked that very same question. I thought he had a good response right away.
Will your team travel to Moscow, Mr. President?
Consider leaving the World Health Organization because of the outbreak of hantavirus?
No, we seem to have things under very good control. They know that virus very well. It's been around a long time. Not easily transferable, unlike COVID. But we'll see. We're studying it very closely. We have very good people studying it very closely.
And he didn't and this was important. This is where I think he's learned also since the first time around I've been accused left and right by everybody of just me. Oh, you're just in the bag for Trump. You'll just support anything he says. Now, no, I would dare you to find anybody more critical of President Trump because of the response to COVID. I think he made a massive mistake on that because I think he held his hands up because this thing came, I said, came out of left field. Nobody knew how to deal with it. We had never seen anything like that. And all the information that was being told to us was completely incorrect. I think he made a massive mistake in handing it over to the health officials. This is different this time. Well, the first thing was obvious. He didn't joke around about it. He just gave a straight answer to that reporter's bombshell question. And if you didn't hear her question, it was this. Does this mean we should rejoin the World Health Organization? Yeah, they got to get the political angle in there, of course. And no, he didn't joke around. He didn't go into classic Trump mode because it is a serious issue. He didn't go like, World Health Organization, they're a bunch of fools. We're not going to join them again. No, he didn't do that. He gave a straight-laced answer to the question. He said, we have great people on it. And what else did he say in there? What did you catch? What did he say like they've all said so far? It's not like COVID. There's a specific reason why they're saying it exactly like that, in exactly that same phrase. It's not like COVID. Important. Now that he said that, who else is popping up? Some of the cast of characters from the COVID era, some of whom I never thought ever I'd hear from or see again. Unfortunately, they're back. Do you remember Dr. Birx? And I don't want to bring up bad memories here. I'm just trying to point out who's trying to pop up again. And you can blame News Nation. I think this was News Nation, whatever the media outlet was that brought her up for the interview. It's a big score for them. It's somebody that was involved in the COVID era. She's involved with pandemics before. I can't believe she's actually getting some airtime again. I can't believe it. She's the scarf lady, Dr. Birx, and she became what was her title again? It was like COVID administrator something or whatever. She was so full of crap, almost, and maybe not even her fault. Maybe she was forced to say this kind of stuff. Almost all of the erroneous crap that we look back on the COVID era now and say, that was insane. Almost all of it came out of her mouth. But she was back this weekend doing some interviews. Here she is. I'm sorry if this triggers you, but, we actually do have to play her. Here she is.
So the Andes strain is the only strain where we have mapped human-to-human transmission. And I caution people because when we say human-to-human transmission, we're talking about people who develop symptoms. But because we're not testing populations with RNAs, we don't really know whether there are subclinical cases. So there could be more human-to-human transmission than we actually see. It's never good to track viruses through symptoms. We should be tracking.
I can't. Oh, I'm actually. You know what? Programming note. I regret even playing that clip. I really do, because I think that actually served nothing other than getting annoyed. What could she have done? We've heard from 3 different people and the president so far in 10 minutes. What could she have done just like them? She could have said, "It's not like COVID." She could have said that. But people who were in charge of pandemics, they're going to find some scare. They're going to find some fear to send on you, and that's what she's done. She could have allayed some fears. Instead, she's bringing up more possibilities that'll make people's heads spin. With her scarf, once again, she's out there. Good Lord. That's exactly the kind of Dr. Birx is the kind of person we don't need to hear from in this. I mean, honest to God. But we weren't allowed to say that a few years ago. Remember that? You weren't allowed. I specifically lived through it myself, too. Don't you dare ask those questions. Don't you dare. No, you can't even. Why doubt their credibility? You need to handle this. You need to turn this issue over to the experts, to Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and all the other people who are in charge of the CDC. And we need to follow the protocol of the World Health Organization, do whatever they say. And we did to a point until finally people said, this is insane, enough. But those were the people like her that were the mouthpieces for all of the information. Most of it wrong, by the way. Wrong or right to say that. Most of it sent us into an era that was just absolutely unnecessary and awful. Did people die? Absolutely they did. But what she could have said right there in that clip was, this is not like COVID. But no, she raised more questions to raise the concern level. You got to ask why she's out there making the rounds again. To counter that, let's go to somebody the complete opposite, a guy that's had it up to here with the talk of hantavirus and COVID and all the other stuff in pandemics. Not to say he's doubting any science or anything else, but Dr. Drew, I know a lot of people question the credibility of Dr. Drew, but he makes some common sense points here as well. He's already frustrated with this. I play this just to counter the Dr. Birx statement.
I'm really worried. We have a hantavirus outbreak in a cruise ship, and everybody's wanting to do it all over again. Are you freaking? It's not a respiratory virus. Stop it. Stop it now. Stop the news agencies need to stop. Everybody needs to stop. Hantavirus has been around a long time. It's nasty. Yeah. So is TB. So is a lot of other things. So is rickettsia. Let's deal with the rats problem downtown in Los Angeles. We have murine typhus and pneumonic plague breaking out. Deal with that. But I digress. The fact is that there are structural and philosophical excesses in public health that need to be kind of addressed.
I like him. He was fun to follow. I know everybody tended to, referring back to the COVID era again, everybody found their favorite health officials. Some that were making common sense. Some that went completely ballistic and insane, like Dr. Birx with the scarf lady. But he brings up another good point that keeps coming up again and again and again. This isn't something new. Is it nasty? Yes. Looks as though they get this from rat droppings, which is nasty. Yes. Is it deadly? Yeah. They've had 3 passengers on this ship die already. It's not something new, which raises the first most relevant question. Then why are you hearing about this one? Here's the deeper question. If we had never lived through the big bad COVID era and all the crap that we learned from that, right? And how mismanaged that thing was. If we had never been through that, 2020 on, would you even be hearing about this case right now? No. And by the way, he brings up another thing about this ship. Did you take a look at the ship where these passengers got sick? We're not talking about a beautiful, modern, Oasis of the Seas type ship. It's smaller, but when it was docked and they showed some of the people getting off that thing, I've been on a lot of cruises. That's not one I would go on. It's neither here nor there. Maybe that was just the angle of the ship or whatever, but we're not talking about like a modern, cruise ship that most American passengers go on anyway. Okay, just keep that in mind for this thing. So that it seems like the kind of disease that would break out on a ship like that. That's just my take. So this isn't the common thing that you'd find on an American cruise ship, sailing out of like Miami or LA or something. So another thing to keep in mind. And this is one of the first guys. This clip is actually a few days old. Another thing to ask whether or not this is relevant to your life and how it affects you, whether it's hype or real concern. Dr. Mark Siegel, one of the few through that nasty C for COVID era we lived through, that was actually asking the right questions, and they actually censored him for this thing too. Dr. Mark Siegel asking the right questions about this one as well, about the actual hantavirus. He's aware of it, and he kind of wraps it up by saying this.
The chances of human-to-human transmission of this virus is extremely low. They've studied it. In Chile in 2007, they found about 1% chance from this Andes strain. That's it, 1%. And the WHO told me this morning that there's no evidence that this virus has changed whatsoever. There was a concern about a flight attendant maybe getting it from contact with a passenger. She's testing negative so far, which is also really good. So as the days go on and we don't see spread, we're reassured that the virus hasn't changed. Now, one thing that isn't totally clear to me is, did a passenger bring this on the ship from a bird watching episode in Argentina where we know this strain exists? Or could it be from rodents on the ship? If it's the rodent...
That's the only guy I've heard ask that question out of all of it. And getting ready for this thing and throughout the weekend, I saved a lot of clips, went through a lot of them to see who's asking the right questions. What questions should we ask? The only one. Where did it come from? Was it from a passenger possibly? Is it that tough to ask that question? But he brings up another good point about the WHO. And the timing on here is very, very suspect. So we just pulled out of that organization for all intents. Pulled out. And they just had their negotiation about pandemic handling it. Who buys in, who doesn't, what's the protocol. As they were going through those negotiations, representatives from the World Health Organization said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the next pandemic breaks out. 2 days later, this happens. I don't think there are any coincidences, but that's just me. The other question is, and we'll wrap it up with questions, why now? Why are you hearing about this one, and why are you hearing about it now? Well, the WHO story is one of them, but also you're hearing a lot about it today because American passengers got back on American land and was it Nebraska for quarantine. That's another reason why you're hearing about it. But this is the third most important question. Why are the people in the administration making a point to say this is not like COVID in those exact same words? Because it doesn't appear to be, and they're trying to allay concerns. That's exactly why. But I would never give you health advice. I just try to get you to ask the right questions, and those are the right questions to ask. So we shall see. But always look at the timing. That's all I'm telling you. That's all I'm telling you. I don't know what's coming up tomorrow, but I'm probably not going to be talking about diseases. And you're going, thanks, because that's a rough way to start Monday. But thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it so much. Ask questions. That's your answer. Wicked Radio live stream and the replay, X, YouTube, Facebook, but the audio podcast where a lot of you found it. And thank you so much for doing that. Whatever platforms you like, just go to like Apple or iHeart or Spotify or Spreaker. And if they ask you to share, download, whatever it is, thanks for doing that so you know when the new episodes are out, which get posted right after we get off the live stream. Make it a wicked awesome Monday. Ask the right questions. I'll talk to you tomorrow.